What if I told you there's a penny from 1971 that could rewrite your entire financial life, and most Americans have no idea it exists? It has no mint mark, no fanfare, and yet, collectors are quietly paying thousands, even hundreds of thousands, for the right one. This isn't a myth. This isn't hype. This is a cold, silent truth hiding in plain sight, slipping through fingers, vanishing in gas station change trays and dusty dresser drawers. And tonight, you're going to find out why. A man in Ohio recently walked into a coin shop with a bag of old Lincoln cents. The dealer almost dismissed it, until he saw one coin, and froze. It was a 1971 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Looked ordinary. But under magnification, something was off. The lettering was misaligned. The strike was unusually sharp. And there was a subtle doubling, barely visible, but undeniable. That penny sold a week later $4.39000. And here's where it gets chilling. Most people have tossed this coin. Most never check. Why would they? It doesn't have silver. It doesn't glitter. It looks boring. But that's the trap. That's what makes it the perfect storm of forgotten value. You see, 1971 was supposed to be a routine year for the Lincoln penny. Struck mostly in Philadelphia, which traditionally leaves off the mint mark, these coins were printed in the billions. But deep within that massive run, a few coins slipped through with critical errors. Not typos. Not scratches. We're talking about rare double dies, where the die itself strikes the coin twice, creating a ghost-like doubling on Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, or even the date itself. Now here's where things get even more intense. Most collectors know about the famous 1955 double die. But the 1971 double die? It's rarer. Far rarer. And yet it's often overlooked because, on the surface, it looks just like every other penny. But under the right light, with the right eye, the doubling is unmistakable. A whisper from history. A glitch in the system. $1,000 secret hiding in your jar of change. Have you checked yours? Some of these 1971 no-mint pennies also suffer from die deterioration, which adds confusion. Sellers on eBay often post blurry photos, unsure of what they have. But experts know the real signs. Clear, strong doubling. Especially on In God We Trust and Liberty. If you've got one of those, you're not just lucky. You're sitting on a sleeping giant. But let's back up a second. Why did this happen? In the early 70s, the mint was under pressure. Inflation was rising. Copper prices were climbing. The machines were aging. Mistakes slipped through, especially at the Philadelphia Mint, where quality control was stretched thin. And that's when these rare double die errors happened. A die misaligned. A second strike. And before anyone caught it, thousands were minted. Maybe tens of thousands. Most were spent. Lost. Damaged. But a few survived. In attics. In coffee cans. Maybe even in your home. You feel it now, don't you? That pull. That itch in your fingers. The sudden urgency to run to your coin jar, your sock drawer, that old cigar box your grandfather left behind. Because this isn't just about coins. This is about chance. About unlocking something the world said was worthless, and discovering it was worth everything. And here's the part that really hits: most people who find these coins don't even realize what they have. They take it to a pawn shop. They let it go for $5. But the real collectors, the ones who know, they've seen these coins go $4.9, $500, $12, 000, and in one shocking auction, a pristine, museum-grade specimen crossed the $100,000 line. You might be wondering, how can I tell if mine is real? It starts with the lettering. Get a jeweler's loupe. Look at Liberty. Look for ghosting, separation, especially around the B and E. Then check In God We Trust. Are the letters unusually thick? Doubled? Look at the date. Do you see shadows around the 1 and 9, but don't stop there. Don't rush to sell it. Get it authenticated. Certified. A simple mistake could cost you everything. People have unknowingly sold coins worth 6 figures for $20. Don't be that person, and here's your final reminder, straight from the lips of experts and collectors who've hunted coins their entire lives. The 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the most underappreciated, misunderstood treasures of modern numismatics. But not for long. Word is spreading. Prices are climbing. Dealers are watching. And if you wait too long, your fortune may end up in someone else's hands. So dig. Search. Look again. And when you find it, don't just think about the money. Think about what it means. That you noticed what others missed. That you uncovered what history tried to bury. That you held a piece of forgotten value in your palm, and you knew, and finally, this coin's current market value is $860,000. You walk past it every single day. You've probably even held it in your hand, and tossed it aside, thinking it was worthless. Just another penny. But what if I told you one of the most ordinary-looking coins in America, one simple, brown, scratched-up 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, might secretly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the truth. There's a version of this coin so rare, so unexpected, that even seasoned collectors still debate how it ever made it into circulation. And right now, it could be hiding in your change jar, your dresser drawer, even in your kid's piggy bank. Let me tell you a story that it starts in the year 1976. While the entire country was celebrating the bicentennial, fireworks, flags, parades, the U.S. Mint was overwhelmed. Quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins were redesigned to honor America's 200th birthday. But the penny? Forgotten. Left untouched. At least, that's what most people think, but deep in the Philadelphia Mint, something strange was happening. Penny dies, used to strike the coin's image, were wearing out faster than expected. Some of them were cracked. Others had microscopic gouges. And in one freak instance, an overused die struck a batch of 1976 Lincoln cents with a strange, doubled design. A design so subtle, so ghost-like, that most people never saw it. But collectors today call it the 1976 no-mint mark double die obverse. Now here's where it gets truly bizarre. Some of these pennies didn't just have doubling. They were struck slightly off-center. Others had die cracks that looked like lightning bolts across Lincoln's face. One was discovered with the tiniest repunching of the date, a flaw only visible under extreme magnification, but the real mystery. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, yet no one was supposed to care. There was no mint mark on pennies at the time. So when these flawed coins entered circulation, nobody paid attention. No one thought twice. It was just a penny, until one man in Ohio noticed something strange. He had a habit of searching through penny rolls every Saturday night, a quiet ritual. But that night, in a box he bought from a local bank, he found it. A 1976 penny. No mint mark. But the letters on, "In God We Trust," slightly shadowed. The date? Just barely doubled. He took out his magnifier, heart pounding. Could it be real? He sent it in for grading. Weeks passed. Then, the letter came. It was real. One of the only confirmed 1976 no-mint mark double die errors in existence. That penny sold quietly at a private auction $4.42, 500. And that was over a decade ago. Now think about this. Thousands of coins pass through your hands every year. Most people don't look. Most people never check. But the ones who do. The ones who take 10 seconds to inspect an old penny, they're the ones walking away with generational wealth, because here's the secret, the 1976 penny wasn't supposed to be valuable. But the mint was under pressure that year. Mistakes slipped through. Quality control missed things. And in a handful of those copper coins, hidden between all the regular, boring pennies, were flaws that turned them into buried treasure. So what exactly should you be looking for? First, the mint mark. If there's no mint mark under the date, it means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. That's common, but don't stop there. Now check the lettering. Use a magnifying glass and look closely at Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Is there any doubling? Any shadows? Even slight distortion? Next, tilt the coin. Look for cracks, die breaks, or odd bumps around the rim or on Lincoln's shoulder. These are called cuds, and they make coins extremely collectible. Finally, check the date itself. Some rare errors show a repunched 6, where an earlier impression of the number is faintly visible behind the final strike. That's a major clue, and here's the most important part: never clean the coin. Ever. Collectors want authenticity, not shine. Even a rare coin can lose thousands in value if it's been polished. That if you find one of these, get it authenticated. Use a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. And whatever you do, don't sell it to a pawn shop or coin buyer until you've done your homework. Because the person who found one in 2012 and sold it for $42,000. If they waited until now, they could have gotten a whole lot more. Today, collectors are desperate for unique 1976 Lincoln cents with doubling, off-center strikes, and obscure die flaws. Especially those with no mint mark, since they come from the unpredictable Philadelphia Mint. Only a handful have ever been confirmed. The rest? Still out there. So the next time you get change at the grocery store, or clean out your old coffee can of coins, stop. Look. Check every single penny, because you're not just searching for copper. You're chasing freedom. The freedom to retire early. To pay off your mortgage. To change your life with a coin most people would never notice. And finally, this coin's current market value is $857,000. They almost threw it away. A man standing in line at a gas station in rural Indiana, frustrated, tired, and late for work, dropped 3 pennies on the counter and walked off. But what he didn't realize is that one of those pennies could have changed his entire life. One of those pennies was a 1979 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. And its secret? It wasn't just rare. It was nearly priceless. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? Not just noticed it, really looked? Because this ordinary-looking coin from 1979 hides something most collectors don't even know exists. And if you don't check your change soon, you might lose out on what some dealers are calling the ghost mint miracle. See, in 1979, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. The economy was shaky, inflation was creeping in, and the cost of producing coins was constantly being evaluated. That year, most Lincoln cents were minted in Philadelphia, San Francisco, or Denver. But here's where the mystery begins. While Philadelphia coins from that year weren't supposed to have a mint mark, a strange variation of the coin began surfacing with unusual die features, some of them showing dramatic doubling. Others? Containing minute errors that were never meant to reach the public. And then came the strangest twist. A tiny batch of 1979 Lincoln pennies, minted in Philadelphia, slipped past quality control with what experts now believe was a transitional die, one originally intended for proof coins. Sharper details, smoother fields, and a level of craftsmanship that didn't belong in regular circulation. But no mint mark. This wasn't just a minting oversight. It was a fluke. A 1 in a million mistake that created a phantom-class penny, an error so discreet that even experienced dealers overlooked it for decades. Until one resurfaced in 2003, tucked inside a child's old coin. JAR.IT sold quietly at first, just under $9,000. But word spread. Collectors realized these weren't just error coins. They were a time capsule. A whisper from the mint's chaotic past. And suddenly, everyone wanted one. But here's the part most people don't know. Some of these rare 1979 no-mint Lincoln cents carry a die variety so distinct, so razor-specific, that when spotted under magnification, it sends collectors into a frenzy. Look for the doubling on Liberty. Pay close attention to the spacing of the date. Some versions show an unnatural tilt on the number 9, as if the die shifted mid-strike. And when those features align, you're not just looking at a coin. You're looking at a six-figure payday. Still think you don't need to check your change? Let's pull the curtain back even further. During routine minting, a coin with no mint mark from Philadelphia is standard. But in 1979, there were quiet rumors among mint employees, whispers of a short test run using proof dies in general circulation. No official record. No confirmation. But the coins tell the truth. Sharper Lincoln profiles. Enhanced wheat textures. Even tiny misalignments that point to one thing: this was never meant to be found, and yet, they're out there. Hiding in dusty drawers, old family jars, forgotten lunchboxes, and rolled coin wrappers sitting in bank vaults. Imagine, right now, in your home, a coin worth more than your monthly income could be sitting next to a rusty paperclip. That's the emotional weight of this hobby. It's not just about copper or zinc. It's about possibility. The kind of wealth that doesn't scream, it whispers. And only the patient, curious collector hears it. Now, if you're wondering how to find this specific 1979 Lincoln penny, here's what you need to know. First, make sure it has no mint mark under the date. That means it likely came from Philadelphia. But don't stop there. Look closely at the lettering. Is there doubling? Especially on Liberty or In God We Trust. Use a 10x loop. Do you notice anything odd about the shape of the numbers, especially the 9? Some transitional dies left a subtle curve or shadow that shouldn't be there, and here's the trap to avoid: thousands of 1979 no-mint pennies exist. But only a handful show these ultra-rare features. Don't be fooled by fakes or hype coins. Compare it with images from auction houses. Check for verified varieties with a coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. And for the love of collecting, never clean it. A scrubbed coin loses thousands in value instantly, because the truth is, you only need one. Just one rare 1979 penny with those hidden features, and your world could change overnight. Collectors have waited years for these to surface again. Some are paying massive premiums, not just for the coin, but for the story behind it. And if you're the one who finds it, you're not just lucky. You're part of coin collecting legend. Finally, this coin's current market value is $853,000. Check your change. Because the next time you reach into your pocket, you might be holding a fortune. You ever held a coin so ordinary, it disappeared into your pocket without a second thought? Now imagine this: someone just like you tossed a 1980 Lincoln penny onto their dresser, thinking it was worthless. They almost spent it at a gas station, but something stopped them. Something didn't feel right. That same penny turned out to be worth more than their entire car. Why? Because it had one terrifying secret: no mint mark, and that changes everything. You're about to find out why this single missing detail could transform your old change jar into a vault of hidden wealth. But I'll warn you now, if you've ever thrown a penny like this away, this story might haunt you. Here's what nobody's told you: in 1980, the US Mint was transitioning, experimenting, and sometimes, slipping. While Philadelphia normally didn't stamp a mint mark on pennies back then, the rarity doesn't come from the missing mark alone. It comes from what happened during that specific year, a year that quietly birthed a mistake. A batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint with striking inconsistencies. A handful had bizarre die cracks, others had off-center impressions, and a few, they had no mint mark but matched characteristics from San Francisco struck proof coins. Coins that should have never been released for circulation. But someone made a mistake, and now, collectors are scrambling to find the ones that got away. Most people will glance right past a 1980 penny, not realizing the tiniest variation could mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. That's the tragedy: people are spending them without ever knowing. Now picture this: a coin dealer at a small-town auction lifts a random 1980 penny under his loupe. He blinks. Then again. The table goes quiet. What he sees is a faint doubling on Lincoln's date, an error caused by a rare die variety. And then, he notices there's no mint mark. None at all. It's real. He's holding the phantom. The bid starts at $500. By the time the hammer drops, it's north of $27,000. Because here's what's happening behind the scenes: error collectors, minting historians, and deep-pocketed investors are all in a silent war over these tiny flukes. Why? Because error coins are drying up. The ones in circulation are vanishing. And the ones left are skyrocketing in value, but here's the twist: there's no way to spot them unless you know exactly what to look for. Most counterfeiters don't even bother replicating 1980 no-mint mark pennies because the genuine ones have such peculiar markers, and that's your advantage. Take a look at the date. Is the 9 slightly thicker? Are there any doubling effects under the microscope? Is the coin slightly off-center, or does it have rim damage that wasn't caused by wear but by a weak strike? These are the keys. Also, check the weight. Most 1980 pennies should weigh 3.11 grams. If you find one closer to 2.5 grams, it might be a zinc planchet test strike. And those? Almost never intended to be released, and here's what most sellers get wrong: they rush. They see a penny without a mint mark and toss it online for $50, thinking they struck gold. But true collectors, the ones who pay 5, 10, even 50,000, they want proof. Documentation. Minting errors confirmed by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC. So don't rush to sell. Investigate. Authenticate. Then watch the offers flood in, because here's the emotional truth nobody says out loud: finding one of these coins doesn't just mean money. It means you beat the system. You uncovered a flaw in the machine. You saw value where others saw nothing. That it means your story just changed. So go. Pull out that coffee can. That drawer of forgotten change. Look again. Carefully, because the 1980 Abraham Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be right there, waiting, quietly, patiently, to rewrite your life. And finally, this coin's current market value is $849,000. They thought it was just another penny. 1 cent forgettable. Tossed in jars, dropped in drive-through trays, buried in couch cushions. But what if I told you that buried inside one of those everyday coins is a secret that's quietly changing lives? This is the 1985 Abraham Lincoln penny. No mint mark. And the truth hiding behind that tiny missing letter? It's one of the most powerful, life-altering mistakes ever made by the US Mint. Let me ask you something. Have you checked your pocket change lately? Have you really looked? Because one ordinary-looking penny, maybe even one in your drawer right now, could be worth more than most people make in a year. Or 5. But there's a twist. A strange, almost ghost-like detail that separates the rare from the worthless. And if you blink, you'll miss it. Back in 1985, the US Mint was in transition. They were dealing with aging dies, copper plating inconsistencies, and rushed production. Philadelphia struck millions of Lincoln cents that year, but forgot something important. They didn't use a mint mark. That wasn't unusual for Philadelphia. For decades, they didn't stamp a P on pennies. But here's where things take a dramatic turn. Some 1985 no mint mark pennies carry a microscopic flaw, a defect invisible to the casual eye, but unmistakable to trained collectors. A soft doubling of Lincoln's eye. A ghost shadow near the date. A thickness in the lettering that doesn't belong. It's known among insiders as a double die obverse, and it's become the hidden heartbeat of this coin's rising value. People are finding them in old collections, in inherited jars, even in supermarket change. And they're not worth $1. Not 10. Not even 100.1 verified examples sold for over $14,000. And that was years ago. In today's market, prices are soaring. Demand is outpacing supply. Coin dealers are scrambling to find new examples, and most of them are already gone. But here's what no one's telling you: the majority of these rare 1985 pennies were never graded. Never submitted. They're still out there. Forgotten in basements, stuck in penny sleeves, sleeping in dusty drawers, waiting to be discovered. Still think it's just a penny. Now listen closely, because here's where it gets real. I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, but you've got to focus. Because one mistake, and you could walk right past a fortune. First, flip the coin under a strong light. Look directly at the word liberty. Is it thicker than usual? Look at the date, 1985. Do the numbers look slightly doubled or shadowed, especially the 9 and 5? And now Lincoln's eye. Is there a strange bulge or softness? These are red flags. And if you spot them, your hands should be shaking, still not sure. Take a magnifier and study the word, "In God we trust." That's where many of the strongest double die errors reveal themselves. If you see doubling there, don't clean the coin, don't touch it more than you have to, and for the love of God, don't sell it to the first person who makes an offer. There are scams. People preying on beginners. But I'll tell you this, a graded, authentic double die 1985 penny can pull life-changing numbers at auction. Not thousands. Not tens of thousands. You want the truth? A collector recently paid 6 figures for a pristine example, because once they're gone, they're gone. You cannot manufacture mint errors. You cannot fake history. And this coin is history written in copper and zinc. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Go to that drawer. That jar. That collection you haven't opened in years. And search. Slowly. Carefully. Like you're hunting for buried treasure, because that's exactly what you're doing. You only need one coin to change everything: your rent, your debts, your future. All of it, hiding behind a forgotten cent from 1985. No mint mark. Just silence. An unimaginable value, because the truth is, the treasure isn't gone, it's just waiting for someone brave enough to see it. And finally, this coin's current market value is $844,000. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice. But what if I told you that in 1986, lightning did strike, in the form of a single penny? A penny that most people spent without a second glance. A coin so unassuming, so quiet, that even seasoned collectors walked right past it. And yet, this tiny copper piece has become one of the most whispered about mysteries in U.S. coin collecting history. Why? Because the 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark wasn't supposed to exist. Now imagine this: you're standing in line at a gas station, jangling the change in your pocket. One of those pennies is warm in your hand, worn down from decades of exchange. You flip it absent-mindedly, see Lincoln's familiar face, and think nothing of it. But what if that penny, yes, that exact one, was worth more than your entire car? What if it was one of the only few known 1986 Lincoln pennies struck without a mint mark, and what if that mistake could now pay off your mortgage? You see, in 1986, something went wrong, silently, subtly, and without anyone noticing at first. All pennies that year were supposed to be struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint. By law, Denver coins carry a D mint mark. But Philadelphia cents. Starting in 1980, even they began adding the P mint mark to most coins, except pennies. Here's the twist: in 1986, all cents should have shown a clear mint mark, or at least followed a strict pattern. But a small number of Lincoln cents slipped through the cracks. They had no mint mark at all, and that wasn't just rare. That was historic. These error coins are real. Tangible. And they've been quietly passed from hand to hand, generation to generation, hiding in piggy banks, junk drawers, and old coffee cans. Some experts believe fewer than a couple dozen genuine examples exist in high grades. But here's what makes it electrifying: most of them haven't been found yet. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at your change? Not just glanced at it. Looked at it. Most of us are in such a rush we throw it into tip jars, coin trays, vending machines. But buried in that loose change could be the financial miracle you've been praying for. Now here's the deeper mystery. Some of these no mint mark 1986 Lincoln cents have abnormally sharp strikes, indicating they were struck with fresh dies early in the minting process. But with no mint mark visible, collectors are divided. Was this a quiet experimental strike from a test run at the San Francisco Mint? Was it a rogue die from Philadelphia that bypassed minting protocol? Or was it, just maybe, a genuine accident that turned into a multi-thousand-dollar miracle? Whatever the case, the result is the same: the value has skyrocketed. Auctions have seen intense bidding wars for high-grade examples, especially when paired with strong doubling or strike-through errors. These coins don't just break expectations. They break the rules. Now here's where it gets personal. One man, retired military, living on a modest pension, found one of these pennies in a cigar box he'd forgotten in his garage. It was mixed in with decades of other coins. He almost spent it at a corner store, but something made him stop. The lack of a mint mark caught his eye. Just a tiny absence. That decision, pausing for 2 seconds, led to a private collector offering him over $140,000. For one penny, these coins aren't just metal. They're what I call silent jackpots. They carry history, mystery, and a chance, however small, for your life to change in a single moment. But you won't know unless you look. And here's how to do just that. Start with the date, 1986. Flip the penny and check for a mint mark under the year. If there's a D or S, it's not the one. If there's nothing, not even a faint ghost of a mark, you might have something special. But be cautious. Some worn-out coins appear blank because of damage or wear. You need magnification. A jeweler's loupe or USB microscope can help. Then check the coin strike. Is Lincoln's image sharp and raised? Is the rim bold and clean? If so, this could be a candidate for authentication. Next, never clean the coin. That one mistake can erase thousands in value. And don't rush to sell it to just anyone. Some buyers prey on unsuspecting sellers. Instead, send it to PCGS or NGC for official grading. Their certification could be the difference between $30 and $300,000. Don't let this be another story you hear and forget. Don't let a life-changing coin pass through your hands unnoticed. The world is full of ordinary-looking things with extraordinary value, and this penny proves it. Finally, this coin's current market value is $833,000. They thought it was just another penny. A rusted, forgotten coin barely worth the copper in its shell. But one man's junk drawer held a secret worth more than his car, his house, even his retirement savings. And it all started with a 1987 Lincoln penny, carrying a small, almost invisible D mint mark. This coin shouldn't be valuable. It shouldn't be rare. But what if I told you it defied all the odds, because of one silent flaw? What if this ordinary penny hid an extraordinary mistake? Let me take you back. It's 1987. Reagan's in the White House. The Cold War is fading, gas is under $1, and pocket change means something. In Denver, the U.S. Mint is operating at full capacity, pumping out millions of pennies a day. It was supposed to be just another year of mass production. But something slipped. Among the billions of Lincoln cents struck that year, a microscopic number came out wrong. And not just a little wrong, catastrophically, profitably, wrong. An internal die clash. A phantom double strike. An off-center anomaly. One coin in particular, still bearing the D mint mark, emerged with what collectors call a ghost strike, a subtle doubling on Lincoln's chin and jaw, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. But to trained eyes? It's a golden ticket, and here's the twist: most people will spend this coin without ever realizing what they had. That's what happened to Greg Wallace, a retired truck driver from Wyoming. He was rolling pennies with his grandson when he spotted something off. Lincoln looked like he was chewing gum. He laughed. But that little visual oddity turned into a $14,500 auction sale 2 months later. The buyer? A private collector who'd been hunting that exact flaw for over a decade. Still think this is just a penny. There's something magnetic, almost poetic, about these errors. They're accidental fingerprints from the machines that built America's currency. And the 1987 D penny is full of those fingerprints. Some show extreme off-center strikes. Others have floating roofs on the Lincoln Memorial, meaning the tiny engraved roof appears to be detached from the columns. Some even contain transitional planchet errors, where the metal composition doesn't match what it was supposed to be, and here's what no one is telling you: the Denver Mint's quality control in the late 80s was in a quiet crisis. They were under pressure, dealing with aging equipment, and many small errors slipped through the cracks. Literally, that's why this coin exists. That's why it's so valuable. But now I need to ask you something serious. Have you ever actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced, looked, because if you haven't, you might already have the 1987 D sitting in your change jar right now. Most people throw them into Coinstar machines. They vacuum them off the floor of old pickup trucks. But collectors, smart ones, know where the real gold is. And it's not in gold bars. It's hiding in coins like this. Let's break this down so you don't miss it. First, flip the coin. Look at Lincoln's face. Pay close attention to his chin and throat area. Is there a strange doubling? A faint shadow beneath the jawline? That's the ghost strike. Now, flip it over. The reverse should show the Lincoln Memorial. Is the roof disconnected? Is it floating? That's your second clue. Finally, hold the coin under a strong light and tilt it slowly. If you see unusual luster shifts around the rim or a slight misalignment of the stamp, stop immediately. That might be a double die or a misstrike, and you need to get it appraised, but be warned. Most people ruin their chances by cleaning the coin, touching it bare-handed, or trying to sell it too quickly. Don't make that mistake. A certified, untouched error coin in mint condition can be worth hundreds of times more than the same coin scratched and handled. So what do you do if you find one? You breathe. You photograph the coin, both sides. You don't clean it. You get a professional opinion, preferably from PCGS or NGC. Then you let the auction houses do the talking. Because this isn't just spare change, it's historical treasure, and here's the part that will hit you hardest: that a single viewer, someone just like you, watched a video like this 6 months ago. He checked an old shoebox of coins he'd inherited from his father. Inside, a flawless 1987 D with doubling and a clear floating roof. Final sale price: $38,600. And he cried, not because of the money, but because it was the last thing his dad ever gave him. That's what coins like this can mean. They're not just worth thousands. They're worth memories. Freedom. A second chance. And now, the final truth you've been waiting for: this coin, the 1987 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark and verified doubling error, has recently sold at auction for as high as $829,000. They almost threw it away. A father sorting through his late grandfather's belongings, just a box of dusty coins no one had touched in years. Most were common, but one, just one, had something disturbingly off about it. At first glance, it looked like any regular penny. Dated 1992, stamped with a D mint mark. But the second he turned it under the light, he noticed something strange. The words, "Close AM," almost touching, something he had never seen before. That discovery changed everything. What if I told you that one small detail, a barely visible design mistake, turned an ordinary 1992 penny into a life-changing jackpot? You see, in 1992, the US Mint made a silent error. A rare misalignment between dies used for the reverse of the penny. While most 1992 D Lincoln cents have the normal wide AM design, with the letters A and M in America clearly spaced apart, a handful were mistakenly struck using a proof-style reverse where those letters are so close, they almost touch. It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. And that slip has turned into one of the most aggressively hunted coin errors in modern history. Now here's the real kicker: barely 20 examples of the 1992 D close AM penny have ever been found in confirmed high-grade condition. That means out of the billions of pennies minted that year, fewer than a few dozen slipped through with this flaw. And most Americans have no idea it even exists. Imagine holding a piece of metal in your hand, just 1 cent, that could outvalue a brand new Tesla. That's the kind of mistake this is. Collectors have been obsessed with the close AM error ever since it first surfaced. It wasn't even discovered until nearly a decade later. That's how quietly it hid in circulation. Some experts believe the error was created by accident during early die testing and was never meant to reach the public. But somehow, a tiny batch of these close AM coins slipped past quality control and into the pockets of ordinary Americans, which brings us to you. Because one of these 1992 close AM pennies could still be sitting in a jar on your dresser. In your glove compartment. In a roll from the bank. And if you don't know what to look for, you might spend it, or worse, sell it for $1 at a garage sale without ever knowing what you gave away. Here's where it gets wild. In 2012, one of these rare 1992 close AM pennies was auctioned for $20,700. That's over $20,000 for a coin that probably changed hands dozens of times at gas stations, vending machines, and soda fountains before someone finally noticed. But that price? That was more than a decade ago. Today's market is ravenous for rare Lincoln cents, and collectors with deep pockets are watching every listing like hawks. If one in pristine condition surfaced today, especially a red, mint-state version with sharp detail, it could absolutely cross into six-figure territory. And yes, I mean a penny, worth over $824,000. Let that settle in. A single coin, worth more than most people's homes, because of a 1mm design error nearly everyone missed. So how do you find it? Grab a magnifying glass. Flip over your 1992 Lincoln penny. Look at the word America on the reverse. If there's a visible space between the A and the M, it's the normal version. But if those two letters almost touch, so close they feel fused, stop everything. That might be the close AM, but be careful. Some fakes are out there. The spacing must be exact. The serif of the A should almost brush the stem of the M. You'll also want to look for other hallmarks of a genuine strike, like the designer's initials, FG, placed farther from the Lincoln Memorial than usual, which is another telltale trait of the proof-style reverse die. And here's what not to do: don't clean the coin. Don't try to improve it. That can slash its value in half. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a soft plastic holder, and take it to a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Authentication is everything. People often ask me, but why would the mint make that kind of mistake? And the truth is, even in the most secure systems, human error creeps in. A proof die meant for special collector sets may have accidentally been used on a regular production line. It might have been someone's first day. Or a machine's final shift. And just like that, a glitch in the system created a silent gold mine. These moments, these coin stories, they aren't just about money. They're about lost history rediscovered. About everyday people suddenly given a second chance. I've met families who used coins like this to pay off debts, fund their children's education, even retire early, and I'm telling you right now, the next discovery could be yours. But only if you start looking. Only if you learn to see what others miss. This isn't just a penny. It's a signal. A reminder that hidden fortune often comes in the smallest, quietest packages. And while the world sleeps on loose change, you now know better. So check your jars. Your drawers. Your old coin albums. Talk to your parents, your grandparents. Ask to see their old coins. Every 1992 penny deserves a second look, because finally, this coin's current market value is $824,000. And someone out there might just have it.